Roger B. Taney in the New York Times versus the United States. Do you know which Chief Justice this is? If you're not Mr. Keller, you probably don't. This is Chief Justice Roger B. Taney. He was Chief Justice from 1836 to 1864. Roger B. Taney was born on March 17th of 1777. He was born in Calvert Country, Maryland. His parents were Michael Taney and Monica Broke. His father, Michael Taney, was a tobacco grower and a slave owner. His mother was Monica Broke. Roger B. Taney was an upper-class or wealthy citizen of the United States. However, he was highly against slave owning. His house that he lived in his later years was located at 121 South Bend Street, Frederick, Maryland 21701. He was also of English ethnicity and a part of the Roman Catholic Church. Roger B. Taney was appointed by Andrew Jackson. He was commissioned in 1836 and sworn in the same year. Roger B. Taney's last day in office was on October 12th of 1864, when he died that same day. He was later preceded by John Marshall and succeeded by Salmon P. Chase. The case between the United States government and the New York Times Publishing Company, along with the Washington Post. It was in June of 1971 when the Pentagon Papers had been released to the press. These papers identified the location of newly drafted soldiers that were heading overseas. This was a huge problem and a concern for those soldiers' safety. From June 26 to June 30th in 1971, this issue had been brought up to the Supreme Court as a federal issue and a concern for military officers. It is hard to say where these problems originated. Many people suspect it was Ben H. B. that pushed the New York Times and Washington Post to release these papers to the press, and this is where it all had begun. The decision by the New York Times and Washington Post to print illegally classified documents about the American involvement in the Vietnam War sparked a First Amendment battle between the highest levels of government and two of the most highly respected newspapers in the country. Daniel Ellsberg copied more than 7,000 pages of documents that revealed the history of the government's actions in the Vietnam War. They exposed government knowledge that the war would cost more lives than the public were being told, and that the war was being escalated, even as the president said it was coming to an end. They would become known as the Pentagon Papers. Ellsberg believed that the Americans needed to know what was in the report, and decided to make the Pentagon Papers public. To achieve this goal, he broke several laws, which gave multiple copies to the New York Times, which began printing more copies from the documents on June 13th of 1971. The government immediately obtained a court order to prevent the Times from printing more of these documents, arguing that it was a threat to national security. After 4 days of arguing in the Supreme Court about the Pentagon Papers, a decision had finally been reached. Even though more people in the Supreme Court did not want the Pentagon Papers to be released to the public, all of them recognized the First Amendment and the freedom of press, no matter what the cost.